Hello everyone, welcome back to the episode 5. And in this episode, we have Anupama Shivacharya, who is also India's first female calisthenics coach. So, without any further ado, let's dive into today's episode and get to know about her. So, hi Anupama, how are you? How is everything?
So it's been good. I'm just keeping busy with work and workouts and travel for now. So that's been keeping my days full. What
Yes,
about
I
you?
saw that you was. It's good with me. It's going good, training, work,
Right.
and I just came back home, and I think even you just came back to the town today morning.
Yes, I did. Yeah, just got back.
Yes, so I saw your stories, your post, surfing. It was good to see.
Thank you so much. I got a couple of inquiries from calisthenics athletes. I think Chirag reached out to me today. He said he wanted to start surfing. So I had a conversation with him just before the podcast. We started recording. So,
That's nice. Even I am thinking, but my work life is not allowing me to go through.
I know. Whenever
I
you're
don't
ready,
know.
you can hit me up. So I'll give you
Yes,
all
yes,
the information.
definitely. I don't know how do you manage coaching, having being a journalist at Times of India, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
Plus doing
yes.
surfing, that's
Mm.
like amazing, you know.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Uh, Anupama, don't mind asking me. Can I
Mm.
know how old are you?
I am 28 years old.
Wow,
Present. Yes.
that's amazing. And where are you from?
I am from Bangalore, but growing up, I moved across India. So I grew up in a lot of villages. I grew up in a lot of smaller towns, which allowed me to be, I think, physically active, moving, running, just playing with animals, etc. So I am lucky that way. But I've lived in Bangalore the longest now. It's been about 15 years.
And how was your experience in small towns?
It was good. I loved it. I mean, like I said, there's so much activity there, there's freedom, there is open verandas, and just you can move and walk and run, and you're always monkeying around, you're hanging from some place. So I think that's a good thing. When you're in a smaller town, you learn about nature, you learn about physical movement even before you know what it is.
Yes, I agree because even whenever I get holidays, I make sure to go to the farmhouse. Even it's seem like there,
Yeah.
like small town. It's good
Yeah.
fun. No, yeah. Sometimes maybe no networks. Sometimes tornadoes will be coming, heavy rains. It's just
Correct.
amazing to stay in this weathers.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree.
Yeah. By the way, when did you start your calisthenics journey and why?
Well, calisthenics started in 2019 Jan. I originally wanted to be a parkour athlete. So I reached out to this facility called Chaos Factory in Bangalore, and I wanted to start learning parkour. But then this facility is about 35 kilometers away from my home. And because of that, I couldn't, access it very easily. I could only go over the weekends. And what happened was the owner of the facility, his name is Delson, who's also a parkour coach. He had a competition called Chaos 18 in December 2018, where he said, Anupama, why don't you come and take part in the competition? It's okay if you're not on the level of fitness that everybody is, but at least come and take part. And I was there at Chaos 18, and I got to witness, I think, couple of people like Suhail and Hema and Beast Aslam all performing so well. And I think they all took home the trophy, first place that day in their individual events. So that was really, I mean, like I was so inspired by seeing Hema do that, pull up, what is that, anchor, this one, the V-shaped monkey bar kind of a thing. The way she did it, yes, the way she did it, so fast, so swift, so strong. I was like, oh my god, I need to. And I couldn't do a single pull-up then, December 2018. So I was like, I reached out to Hema and I was like, hey, where do you practice? And she was like, we practice in a park. And until then, I had never heard of anybody working out in a park. Because everyone works out either in the gym or a facility, right? And I
Yes,
was intrigued. I was like, what is this? Like, who works out in a park? Like, it's like usually the uncles and, the older
yes,
generation
yes,
that
yes, yes, yes. I
you see
understand.
in the park, right?
Yeah,
And then I reached out to Calisthenics Bees, and I try to hang out more in the park and learn from them. That's when I think Suhail, saw me struggling in the park trying to do a pull up, and he offered to coach me. And he was like, "Why don't I? Why, if you want to learn pull up so bad, I will coach you. Can you come to the park every day?" And so that's when I started. Jan 2019, I started my calisthenics in that year. So yeah.
and look at what you came through now.
I know it's. I never imagined that it would be such a big part of my life, and I'm all about calisthenics now. It's so much
Yes.
calisthenics. Yeah.
Also, if you are listening to this podcast, let me also tell you a spoiler that in episode 1 of season 2, where Hema spoke about doing that gym, where
Mm-hmm.
that what you were talking about, right? She
Mm-hmm.
told a story. Like, it's interesting. She
Mm-hmm.
was seeing lots of dudes trying to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like very confident that she'll be able to do, but she was also nervous because this was her very very first time. And Ashwin, Aslam, me, Suhail,
Mm-hmm.
everyone were, we were there.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of these calisthenics these people motivated her to go
Mm-hmm.
and do it, and she killed it. Can you believe
Yes,
that? Even
she
she told
killed
me,
it. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
she did like better than most of the dudes over there.
Definitely, definitely. The way she did it, she made it look so easy. I was like, one day I want to be there. I want to be so strong to be able to move my body like that. And I think just watching this calisthenics beast and this bunch that was there, and then everybody who was a part of CB then really, really inspired me a lot.
Yes, yes. Like, I just cannot believe in a flick of, like, it's been 2 years. Like, it's gonna be 3 years
Three
starting.
years, 3 years,
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
my God. I just feel like it was your last month.
I know. Well, the lockdown last 2 years don't
Yes.
count.
Yeah. The lockdown years. Yeah, I'm not counting that in my age too.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so like you have came so far. Like it's
Hmm.
been almost like 12, 24, 36 months,
Yes.
35 months.
Yeah.
What motivated you to become coach?
Um, I think, well, 6 months after I started training, in calisthenics, the calisthenics nationals happened. It was July 2019. I remember July 2019, and I I wasn't preparing for the competition per se, but I remember Suhail telling me, "Hey, listen, the competition's gonna happen. Why don't you take part in it?" And I was like, "I don't know if I'm strong enough." And he's like, "Just take part. You never know." And I placed second in the endurance category. I remember. So after that, I wasn't sure what to do with that. Right? I mean, I had this much strength, I had this much progress, and I had this title, and I was like, "What do I do with this now? Like, what do I do with this journey?" Right? And that is also when I remember you could count the number of women who could do pull-ups. Okay. Like not many, maybe 5 or 6 that I actually knew. Maybe more women could do it, but they weren't, so open about it on social media. And a lot of women spoke to me, a lot of people spoke to me, and they were like, "Hey, you should, can you teach me? Can you help me get started with calisthenics? Can you help me get started with my fitness journey?" And I wasn't certified then, and I did not come from a background of biology, so I felt very uncomfortable coaching anybody with that much knowledge, right? So that's the main reason I decided to do a certification and become a coach, so that I can bring calisthenics to not only like the next generation of women, but also the older generation, our fathers, our parents, our grandparents, because calisthenics is so ideal for them. Body weight is so ideal from them, right? There's a lesser chance of injury with simpler movements like planks, squats, if done right, right? When compared to weights, I feel. And for any injury that somebody goes through, always body weight is the first thing that's recommended. And all of these things got me thinking, and I was like, okay, let me do something with all this journey that I've had. Obviously, it must mean something if I've come this far. So that is the reason I became a coach.
But like, what does it mean to be a good coach, and what is your take on the certification?
Well, um, I think what separates a good coach from any other coach is the fact that they care for their client, right? The fact that they care about the client's, say, fat loss, or the client's journey through a pull up, or a journey through a handstand or a headstand. Um, Recently, I think so many of my clients have learned headstands from me. And every time one of them unlocks a move, every time somebody gets their first push up or first headstand or first pull up, the joy is my joy as well. It's my accomplishment as well. And it's not that I made them do it, it's just that I feel like I did it all over again. Right. And I think that kind of care is what separates a good coach from, any other coach, because knowledge and experience is something that anybody can bring to the table. They just have to study, they just have to work in a certain industry for a couple of years, and that is there, right? You don't have to strive much for it, but truly caring for your students or clients is what separates a good coach from like a not so great coach, I feel. And
Yes,
for your second question, I think you asked me what is your take on certifications.
yes.
Certifications, well, I am not somebody who believes that you need to have a formal education in something to be an expert in it. But I personally also vouch for certifications because it opens up avenues with the right people. In case you want to work in a gym, or in case you want to work with somebody new, right? They do not know anything about how much of an expert you are. So a certification is something is on your resume or is on your brand, that like, this person is certified to do that. This person has the knowledge to do it, right? So I think that is very important. And in case you want to, as an athlete or a coach, more so as a coach, if you want to sign up with big sport brands like Nike or Adidas, or even the smaller upcoming Indian brands, it's so much easier for the people working in those brands to choose you as an ambassador, right? So it opens up a lot of avenues that way, as opposed to somebody who doesn't have a certification, right? So the public will always, I think, choose somebody who's certified more than somebody who's not certified, because there's that brand, right? So brand value, that is the reason. I think that's where I stand on certifications. It's necessary, but depends on your goals. What do you want to be? You just want to teach people, but if you want to reach a bigger crowd through other brands by influencing and stuff, certification is most necessary, I think.
Indeed, this is really, really important to know people, because there are some people. There is no hard feelings, or I'm not just pointing out to anybody, but I have seen somewhere like they just know do a million pull-ups for pull-ups, do pull-up shrugs, pull-ups, negative pull-up, all this, but they don't know what exact muscle is hitting, what movement is happening, how range of motion is happening, how to train the younger generation of the client, the older generation, like you said, above 40. So I would say, like, even I agree with this. Certification really helps in understanding the biology part of it, like anatomy part of it, which is really important to understand the human movement happening.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Especially if it's the older generation. The younger generation, it's okay. You train them raw. They fall, break something. They'll always recover. But the older generation, they walk and they get a hamstring pull. So it's hard to. You need to be like really careful and knowledgeable about to handle the older generation. So that's important.
I don't know if it would give the perfect example, but what I feel is like being certified is like you are handling a newborn baby, and you are the expert, like a grandma who knows how to handle the baby. It's like we are certified and we know how to handle a oldest person in calisthenics.
Yes.
I think it was a good example, right?
It was a good analogy. Yes, definitely. Although I want to again reinforce that somebody who's not certified doesn't mean that they're not knowledgeable. There are many coaches I know who are not certified at all, and they're extremely knowledgeable. But it depends entirely on the coach's goal, what they want to be. So it's it is either like this or that, you know.
Yes.
Hmm.
Also, Anupama, tell me, like, have you ever been into any other sports apart from calisthenics, parkour,
Um,
surfing?
well, yeah, surfing is quite recent. Parkour, I never got a chance to learn it much. I just know the basic roles and how to land with low impact, but I never got a chance to work on it much. Someday, hopefully. Um, right now, along with surfing, I'm trying to learn football. And there's a community called Sisters in Sweat, which teaches women how to play sport, even if they're completely beginner, even if they've never played sport in their life. So I'm learning how to play football just recreationally. Um, and back in school and college, I used to play volleyball at a university level. So that, and I think I used to play chess, which was non-physical sport, in school, again at a university level, school and college. Those have been the sports I have been involved in until now, mostly.
Also, have you ever stepped into a conventional gym?
Well, I did step into like this old school gym, the whole bench press and all of those machines. I signed up for a month. I went for 15 days. Yeah, that was the end of it.
Typical person.
yeah
Uh,
yeah I just couldn't do it. I felt like it was not right for me. I found it extremely boring to work out by myself, and just one person just coming and checking in once in a while and just like saying, hey, do burpees, and then goes away. They're not checking for the form, they're not checking if I'm doing it right. uh, so yeah, I found it boring, but I think it depends on people, whether if they like that form of workouts, it's great for them.
yes. So, like, also, it doesn't mean for you, but who
Yeah.
inspires you the most and in what way?
Um, I think this is one of the questions that kind of made me think, Kaustubh, when I received the questions. Um, to be honest, there is no particular person or one thing that inspires me. All right. Like I said, see, I saw Hema in Chaos Factory. I saw Suhail and Beast Aslam in Chaos Factory. They inspired me enough to take up calisthenics. Right. And then I met my colleague, Roshni, at Times of India. She writes so beautifully that she inspires me to be a better writer. Or there's a book called Atomic Habits, which I read, which is all about how to form habits. And I learned so much from that book. It inspired me enough to change my habits for the better. So yeah, I take my inspiration from everybody around me, like surfers. I was there this weekend, I watched them surf. It's just so beautiful, so smoothly done, right? Swimmers, surfers, people, anybody who's passionate about something, I think that is what inspires me a lot. Anybody who's passionate, whether it's food, fitness, lifestyle, beauty, whatever it is, I think anything that's passionate always inspires me.
You are literally a kind of fluid person where you take inspiration from each and every place. Like,
Yes.
that's really amazing.
Thank you
Because
so much.
at times taking inspirations from once.
Mm-hmm. So, sorry, Kaustubh, can you repeat that? I'm not sure if I understood that right.
Tell me.
Yeah.
So what is your biggest challenge with regards to coaching?
All right. Okay. I think this is a question that got me like cracking up the most, because I don't know if you'll agree with me, but the biggest challenge for me with regards to coaching is uh, regulating the protein intake with my clients. It's just such a hard job to get them to increase their protein intake, and there are so many myths and um, wrong info in the world presently on the web, right? It's so hard for them to so hard for me to convince them to eat more protein or take a supplement. They're all afraid that they'll get kidney stones or they'll have health issues, and supplement as a word has such a taboo, right? So I think that remains my biggest issue, and it's the most frustrating because when nutrition is not right, it's hard to get results with my clients, right? It's the car doesn't run without a fuel, whether it's a Mercedes or a Maruti 800. So the fuel is important, and getting my clients and students to understand that, especially somebody who is new to fitness, right? It is a big challenge. And I think so many of my clients are vegetarians, they're vegans. That is another huge challenge. People would rather eat processed food, and they'll eat chips, lays, whatever, but taking a scoop of whey or taking a scoop of vegan protein, they feel like they're consuming processed food then.
I like, it's just my opinion. I also sometimes don't understand why these people are, because I have trained so many people, and I will tell you, Anupama, there were few people, and it's not targeting or anything like that. There were few people in this, and there are many people who smokes, who drinks, and even while they seeing the picture on the packet, that is, smoking causes cancer, drinking causes blah blah blah, all these things, but still they take it, drink it without even thinking the consequences. But still, why, when it comes to protein, just go with what people say, what others say, and not just do our own research? But I think we really need to work on this into changing people's mind.
As coaches, I think we need to talk more about this and get them to understand. I think we need to also research about how exactly it's made, so that we can tell clients that, listen, this is how it's extracted. It's not chemicals. There is nothing artificial that's added to this. It's just made from milk or peas or brown rice, and it's completely safe to consume. So I think we need to bring that in. And for non-vegetarians, it's obviously very easy to get their protein intake through natural sources, but for vegetarians it becomes a huge issue. So yeah, we need to work on that. I completely agree with you.
Also, what I saw, I see, I keep seeing, and I'm definitely going to keep seeing, is I mean, what was I saying? Like, people confuse themselves with that protein. If I take protein now, and if I leave the gym, I will start gaining weight. It is not like that. If you leave the gym, you will never gain up or lose your muscles. It's only because your diet, your eating habit changes.
Yes, exactly.
Your lifestyle changes. That is not because of protein, but people put that blame on Papa Protein.
Papa Protein, yeah, totally.
I feel so bad.
Yeah,
That is actually, we need to also spread awareness on this, that it is not lifestyle changes, people changes. They started taking their health very lightly, and they start eating junk foods, and they'll be like, oh, I did 4 weeks of gym, I got good results, I used to take this protein, but I left, and I see how I became now with 10 inch of tummy coming out.
Right. It's just calories in and calories out. I think we also need to speak more about nutrition. I think some coaches do, some coaches don't.
Yes.
Speak more and get our clients and students aware about what exactly happens in the body and how it works. So that is essential.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, moving further, have you gotten into any calisthenics competition?
Well, yes. My first competition was Chaos Factory in December 2018, calisthenics. I couldn't finish the endurance round there. So I got stuck in parallel bar dips. I had never done dips in my life. So, I got stuck there. And then I think 6 months later, the calisthenics nationals happened. There was an endurance category and the strength category that I took part in. In the endurance category, I placed second, runner-up. Prior to that, there was something called Reebok Unrest in 2018. I think September, October, where this was completely, elements of functional training, like lifting, lifting kettlebells, swinging kettlebells, lifting the barbell push presses, etc. So there I was one of the CrossFit Challenge finalists. So these have been the competitions that I've taken part in until now. And then the pandemic hit. So that was the last.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I remember you winning at the nationals, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, beside calisthenics, what are the other things you do?
Mm, do you mean as as a source of income, or like for work, or otherwise?
Yes, anything, like both ways.
Both. Okay. For work, I mean, I work as a freelance journalist, lifestyle journalist, where I primarily write about food, travel, and fitness, because that is where I've had the most experience in. And I also take up content projects for websites, for apps, for emailers, etc. And apart from that, I work as a calisthenics coach. So that is what I do for work. For recreationally, you give me anything new, I am down for it. I will sign up. You tell me, hey, this is new, do you want to try it? I'll be like, yes, I want to try it. Like, I want to try as many new things as possible. So I think I recently heard about this sport called pickleball. So pickleball, even I was surprised, like pickle as in achar, the same pickle.
Yes.
Yeah. Pickleball is apparently like a smaller version of tennis, where the court is half the size approximately, and you don't have to move around as much, but it's the same as tennis. So I'm kind of looking up on the sport to see like where it's played in Bangalore, and there is actually a community that plays it. So that's this one. Apart from that, I go on a lot of treks. I work as a trek lead with a company called Monks on Wheels, and I do treks on the weekend. I go cycling, climbing, any physical activity is okay. If there's a new restaurant in town, I go try the food. And Bangalore is known for its breweries, so we have some really good beers here. So once in a while, when I'm on a break from my workouts, I go indulge in a couple, few beers. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do, I think.
Wow, that's interesting,
Yeah.
So, as you said previously, like before starting your journey in the
Mm-hmm.
endurance,
Mm-hmm.
such and that, what basics did you use to work in sports, and how long did it take you?
Well, before I started calisthenics, I had already started functional training for about a year. Okay, so I had really good coaches for functional training. And what happened is, even though I started from scratch, I already knew a lot of the calisthenics movements without knowing that they're actually a part of calisthenics, like your basic push-ups, squats, planks, and all of these. Even though there was barbells, dumbbells, and kettlebells involved, my coaches kind of got me solid on this. And this happened without intention, right? I never started with an intention saying, okay, someday I want to do calisthenics, so I'm training for that. I was just like, okay, I'm eating too much, I need to get fitter, I need to get more agile, I want to be able to move easily. And that is the reason I started with functional training. So that was about a year. With calisthenics specifically, when I started, push-ups, I could always do push-ups, so that wasn't a big deal for me. But I think I got my first dips in about 10 days of starting, and I got my first pull-up 1 month into calisthenics. So I think all the credit goes to Suhail, who was my calisthenics coach, and Sam and Praveen, who were my functional coaches. I think all of them played a big role in making this happen faster with the right knowledge. So
Yes, coach makes the distance very short, and
yeah.
in a move and helps you move very smart.
Yes, exactly. You don't have to do the trial and error method when you have a coach, and that is
Yes,
really
I know.
important. Yeah.
So, what is your favorite calisthenics moment?
Very, like, how can I answer it? I mean, I see, if I'm into calisthenics so much, I love all moments of calisthenics. But I think I keep going back to the three basics the most, right? It's push, pull, squat. Like any day, even when I'm coaching my clients, I don't make them do 10 different moves. I just make them do squats 100 times, like, not in the same session, but often they end up doing at least 45, 50 easily, and they start with knee pain. They start with, oh, I can't go all the way down and all of that. And by the end of 2-3 weeks, they are doing a good amount of squats in the right way, or a good amount of Australian pulls, or incline push-ups. So these will always be the basics that I'll focus on for myself as well as for my clients. And I think from these moments, you can pick up on anything within a short amount of time. When you have the strength, the skill is very easy to train. So these will always remain my 3 favorite moments.
Oh, that's amazing. Also, so Anupama, what is your key secret for mastering pull-ups, dips, and pistol squats?
All right. I think 2 things that have worked for me is I've personally never had a date that I should unlock this move in a certain time, right? So it has helped me take off the pressure that that I would have probably put on myself if I had put a timeline on it, right? And I think that really made a difference, because I've seen a lot of people unnecessarily pressure themselves into pushing themselves harder and getting themselves injured. And I think one of the other common words that we see come up often is consistency, right? When you say consistency, people often mistake that they have to turn up for a workout, whether they've had 4 hours of sleep or whether they have had no sleep or without taking any breaks. And that is what slows down their progress, right? That's what gets them on a path towards an injury. People don't understand that consistency doesn't mean that you shouldn't take breaks. So I take a lot of breaks, like obviously planned breaks in between my goal. If I'm training for, say, a muscle up now, I will be working on it for, say, 3 weeks. Then I take a break for 1 week, a good deload from my diet, from my workout, and then I start again. And then again, go for it until I feel like I'm too exhausted or tired, and then again I go for a deload. And I think that is really the key to unlocking any move, no matter what move it is, and it gets you on this one faster as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how many weeks did it take you to work on yourself to compete at the national championship?
Well,
2019?
I started training in calisthenics in Jan 2019, and nationals was July 2019. So until June 2019, my goal was to just I joined calisthenics with the goal of just achieving 1 pull-up, right? And then we just kept working on the basic elements, that is the pull-ups, push-ups, dips, etc. And I think we trained for the nationals for 1 month specifically. When we understood the routine, the endurance routine that I had to go through, then we started the specific training along with timing, etc. So yeah, about a month or so.
So what struggle did you face during the preparation for national?
I think my struggles, I'm not sure if people would relate to this, because what happened to me was I had a full-time job with Times of India, and I lived in the outskirts, which is Yelahanka. And these guys trained at the park, which is about 15-20 kilometers away from my home. So I had to wake up in the morning, go for my functional training for legs, go do that, wrap up, go to office, finish the work, and then change in the office, rush to the park, work out there till like 8 o'clock, and then go back home and leg crash. So I think this one was balancing all of this. It was pretty hectic what I had made for myself, right? So along with the functional training in the morning and this one in the evening, this and the other job also which I had with Monks on Wheels as a trek lead. So on the weekends I would go for treks. So I probably didn't have to make it this hard for myself, but somehow it just happened because I wasn't expecting calisthenics to be such a big part of this one. So while training for nationals, all of these came into picture. In fact, I remember me going on a trek 1 week before the nationals. We went to the Western Ghats. And again, just 1 day before I competed also, of course, I was there doing my job at Times of India. So that was my struggle, to be honest. Just too much on my plate and managing all of it.
Oh my goodness! Like why? Like morning functional, work, track lead, and then competing for national championship. Oh
Yeah. I mean, the job though I couldn't let go. Obviously, that was
yes,
yeah. But
but
yeah, the trek bit wasn't as necessary, I guess. Now that I look back, probably I was younger. I had more energy. I had more enthusiasm and patience to go through this entire thing and not tire out. Also, so that's
wow,
there.
oh my goodness! I'm just imagining. Oh, it's like 14 hours, but I'm
Yeah,
just like, why even you're preparing for nationals? Don't
yeah,
mind Mama me asking you this question.
yeah.
Why did you not give a thought of not working out or taking a break from functional training?
No, because I mean, see, functional training. So I only went to Jamal Park to train my upper body.
Okay.
Yeah. So I train my lower body in the mornings and my upper body in this one. It wouldn't be the same muscles or the same movements, but
Yeah.
it would be, a lower body. I did a lot of what do you say, deadlifts and squats, kettlebell squats, etc., which helped me unlock. I think I unlocked my pistol squats in a week.
Whoa.
Yeah, for Chaos Factory, I remember. So I would practice in the bathroom. I would practice in the office bathroom. I would go to the bathroom, hold the door frame, do my pistol squat, struggle. Yeah, like
Oh
I do
my
it
goodness.
every time. Any time I felt like I do only one rep, I kept doing, and I think 1 week I could do 5. Chaos Factory needed, I think the routine said 5 pistol squats. I could do 5 pistol squats in the week, like.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
It's,
It's
I
probably
like
the
the
only
part.
time. I think that's the only time I put a timeline on my like my move. This one, unlocking a move. So yeah. But functional training helped a lot. It helped a lot to come from there to here. That's why I think I didn't want to let go of functional training. I didn't overtrain. It's just that I had good coaches there, so I didn't want to stop training there for lower body.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like, did you follow any diet throughout the training?
Not particularly. I mean, Indian diet is pretty carb and fat heavy, right?
Yep.
So, because of this much movement, I wasn't paying any attention to my carbs. I was like, whatever I'm consuming is fueling whatever I'm doing. But I did focus a lot on my protein intake. I tried to research, read, study more about the protein intake, and I had a supplement, a vegan supplement that I took as a part of this one, and my meat consumption was pretty heavy. So yeah, that was the one thing. I just ensured that my protein intake was good because everything else was being taken care of. All the other micronutrients and everything was taken care of as a part of my diet already. So that's the only thing I took. But obviously, that is not the best way. I think it's easier to, have a good nutritionist on your side when you're competing in the nationals or the world championships.
Yes, definitely. Also,
Yeah.
like, how was your experience of winning the nationals and competing also?
Oh, it was lovely. I had so much fun. I remember Suhail saying, "Don't do it as fast as you're doing the Australian pull-ups." So he's like, pace it out. You will get gassed out. See what works for you, etc. But at that moment, I was like, I really like. I had that, intensity to do the Australian pull-ups in the squats really fast, and my dips were slow because it was a newer movement when compared to these two movements. So I just went and had fun with it, man. Like it was an amazing experience. And I remember, I think one of the anchors, I was just sitting on this somewhere close to the stage. So one of the anchors was holding those fillers they have in between the competitions, like do 10 squats quickly and then we'll give you some goodie, etc. They were having some fillers then, and one of the anchors was like, why don't you take part in the push-up filler and win yourself a goodie? I was like, no, I'm competing. And he was so shocked. He was like, you're competing? I was like, okay, do I not look like I'm strong enough? But then yeah, then like I went and won this one. So that was nice. Just, you know, telling myself that yeah, I may not look it, but you know, I can do this. So it was really fun, man. I had so much fun at the competition. I was a little nervous, but I remember my event specifically getting postponed so much in the day. It was supposed to happen at 2, but it happened at 5:30 p.m. 5:30 or 6.
And
So by the
that's
time,
really stressful and tiring.
yes, and by the time the event happened, like there was no nervousness left. There was just like, okay, I'm like, start, no, let's get done with it. So that I think that was, yeah, I was there then. So it was nice. I had so much fun. You know, if I could go back and do it, I would go back and do it 10 more times.
Wow, that's
So
really amazing, you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like do you have any did you have any coaches, or did you design your own workout at the nationals?
For nationals, Suhail Pasha coached me. I think he is running Those Guys now. It's called, his
Yes.
community is called Those Guys. Back then, he was a part of Calisthenics Beast. So Suhail Pasha was my coach for the nationals, and for functional training, the coaches' names are Praveen and Samuel Suresh. So those two guys took care of my this one lower body for the nationals again, right? And presently, I am training with Dhairya from Fitnat Corner. He's pretty popular with calisthenics athletes. He's a physiotherapist actually, but he's amazing. The kind of knowledge that he has, just whoa. Like, every session, Dhairya and I end up speaking. We start the session at 11 a.m. The talk goes on till 11:45. Then we train for 20 minutes and we end the session. So that's how the coaching sessions with Dhairya happen. So presently I'm coaching under Dhairya, but I'm not competing. It's not for any competition. I'm just training as to continue progressing. So yeah, that's that.
Also, I remember
Mhm.
in the national competition there was an exercise called rowing.
Mm-hmm.
I could see many girls were not aware of what rowing is and how to do that. Also, do
Yes,
you remember that? Were
yes,
you
yes.
aware of rowing?
Well, I had like, we were told. I mean, I was told that there will be rowing because I think they released the
Videos.
routine a week before
Yeah.
this one. So then, I mean, I tried to go to the gym and practice and try and understand what it was and stuff. But I hadn't rowed before. So I think that is also one of the places where towards the end I was getting a little exhausted because it was, I think, 1 kilometer rowing, right?
Yes. 1,000 meters.
And yeah, 1,000 meters. So yes, I think a lot of the others had never tried it before, the other competitors, right? So yeah, I remember that was new and it was not calisthenics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, how do you plan your workout as of today?
Now, because I'm coaching and I'm training under Dr. Dhairya, we set a goal, all right, and we do not put a timeline on it, all right. Like Dhairya, so I wanted to unlock my muscle up, my ring muscle up, right, and we're presently training for that. So Dhairya was like, first you need to unlock your ring dip, and he was like, okay, let's start with ring hold. And I was like, he's like, let's train this for about 15-20 days and then progress to doing negatives. And I was like, Dhairya, I think I can do a ring dip, and I'd never done it until then. But something in my head said I could do it, and I could just do it immediately. And Dhairya was like, okay, fine, that cuts short this one. But then pull-ups have been a real struggle for me. I think going past a certain number of pull-ups, it has been a real struggle. So pull-up practice has been going ever since I started with Dhairya, which is like the first lockdown, right? So it's, I think, our way of working towards a goal is we set the goal and then we work towards it. We have not more than 2 to 3 goals, and we work towards it without any pressure. I take my breaks, I go surf, I go eat. There is consistency. I'm not saying there's no consistency. There's definitely consistency every single day, right? But it is not, there's no pressure. of unlocking a certain moment. If it happens immediately, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. It's a process. We are all good at some things and we're not good at some things. So, that is the process presently.
Yes, yes, yes. So, do you have any YouTube channel where you teach or record your workout? And yeah.
Presently, no YouTube channel. I mean, whatever I do in my life, I think turns up on Instagram. It's a way of it's my way of telling my friends what I've been up to. I think it's very hard to reach out to every single one of them and catch up with them. So they see stuff, and when we catch up, that's what happens. But no YouTube channel. All my workouts are on Instagram. And I usually don't put out workout routines because I believe that everybody's body is different. See, like I said, the first time I tried a ring dip, I got it. That doesn't mean that somebody who tries it for the first time will get it. They might end up injuring themselves, right? Now, if I say do this, you'll get it. It might make somebody feel like, oh, I can't do it, or I can do it, I'm better than that person, or oh, I can't do it, I'm not as great as this person. So I don't like putting out routines because I prefer telling them. If somebody comes to me for help, I tell them, okay, see, what is this one, how strong are you, and then we decide, and then I give them a routine. But I prefer not to put out routines. So whatever I work out though, but my journey is always up on Instagram. So yeah.
So, what movement or skills are you practicing right now?
Like I said earlier, I'm working on my ring muscle up, working on unlocking that. That is the only goal for now, because my other goal is my body type is such that I gain fat if I go without movement or if I do less movement. So I have to keep moving. I can't just work on strength. I will immediately start gaining kilos. So we are working on just building general endurance for all my surfing, hiking, all of these things. And one other goal, that's the ring muscle up. We're not doing anything else, specifically working on that only.
So where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years doing calisthenics?
I think I see myself having a lot of fun in terms of my personal journey. I want to be able to learn any movement quickly, or if somebody throws a new sport at me, or like they say I didn't know how to swim, but if somebody teaches me, I should be able to quickly learn it. And I think calisthenics and workouts in general have done that for me, right? I'm easily able to pick up things. So personally, I want to continue being there. I don't want to let go of the level of fitness that I'm at. And I think professionally, I want to be able to train more upcoming women athletes. I would really like to see more women stronger, not simply to take part in championships or anything, but for the sake of their health. Women go through so many, especially during their periods, so many women go through cramps and pains and mood swings, and most of it almost all of it can be rectified with just a good amount of protein intake and movement, right? So I want to be able to do that for women, younger women, and I want to be able to do that for older women who are going through menopause and that age, and older people in general. I want to be able to help more people, more than this one. I know a lot of coaches are focusing on athletes who are younger and stuff, but I want to focus on more on the older generation and the younger generation, which is not my generation basically. So yeah.
Yes. Because when we focus on these people, we get to learn a lot of things,
No, totally. Of course, yeah. We do. And training somebody who's healthy is the easiest thing ever. Train somebody with 10 health conditions and 5 injuries. That is when you truly learn. You research so much. I had a client who had a condition where she couldn't consume whey. And she couldn't consume legumes either, which means that took out whey protein from the picture, and that took out pea protein from the picture. She couldn't eat soy, she couldn't eat peas, no legumes, no moong, nothing, right? And I was at my wits' end as to how to get her protein intake high, and she's vegetarian, right? So okay, no, she's not vegetarian, she's non-vegetarian, but she can't eat meat also because it makes her system bloated and nauseated, etc. So then I had to like research so much, and I had to finally zero in on hemp protein for her, which didn't cause her any trouble. So now she's on hemp protein as a supplement, and it is making amazing changes in her body. The kind of strength she has, she walks everywhere, she doesn't have pains, she's getting fitter, she can squat hundreds of squats easily. Earlier she had a knee pain with 1 or 2 squats, and this is somebody who's 35 years old. So
Wow.
yeah, so I think I want to be able to like this. You learn so much from the people who are challenges for you, I think.
Yes,
So
yes, this is really inspiring,
yeah. Thank you so much.
Also, like, what is your key secret to being so consistent doing calisthenics and other things?
I think this something I've spoken in one of the earlier questions also. Taking breaks. I mean, breaks are a must. People think hustling is the way to be successful. It's not. You don't have to work 16 hours and then sleep 3 hours and then come work out. That will just kill your body and your system, right? They need, like, you heard my what do you say, you were like, oh my god, the schedule that you had during the nationals was crazy, but the schedule that I had just before and just after were breaks. So those breaks are extremely necessary for you to be consistent, for you to be I think for you to progress. And I think more people need to take a small break every now and then from their work, from their workouts, from whatever it is that they're doing every day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's really.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so there are some people who will be like so consistent doing calisthenics, but
Mm-hmm.
I think after listening to your side of story, I really loved it, and I would honestly like. I'm definitely going on a break.
I'm glad you should.
You, yes, and I am telling you, Anupama, you should really be glad because you helped me a lot.
I'm glad to hear that,
Yes,
first though. That's really sweet. Thank you for letting me know.
yes. Also, like, what is your favorite way to train, in a group or alone?
Always a group.
Mm.
When the lockdown started and I got my certification, that is when I realized I hated working out. Like, I hated working out. What I loved was the community. Right? Even with my functional training, I had people around me who were like, we were competing together, we were like pushing each other, we're cheering for each other. And even in the park, it was all, everybody comes together, works out, talks. And I think that sense of belonging is why I picked up calisthenics, right? It's the sense of belonging is why I picked up working out or sports or trekking or surfing. At the end of the day, I don't go to surf. I actually go because I feel welcomed and loved there, in the surfing community or in the trekking community and in the calisthenics community. So, group workouts are always my thing. I don't think I'm designed to be like working out alone. I don't like it at all. And yeah, I know a lot of people like to work out alone, but to each their own.
Yes. Also, what are your thoughts on the growing scene of calisthenics in India, and also between women?
Well, I think, we, our generation, and you, me, and we Cali athletes and coaches are at the brim. Like, calisthenics is just booming in India. It's like how CrossFit first came in and it became a huge thing, and there were CrossFit boxes everywhere. We are at the beginning. We are going to be the wave that brings in calisthenics to everybody. It's going to be on everybody's lips. It's going to be hugely popular, and I think it already is. Because of the lockdown, everyone is forced to do no equipment workouts, right? And most people already know what calisthenics is, and it's going to grow. But I think right now it is seen as something that only somebody who's already strong can do, right? Like your human flag or back levers and front levers. But calisthenics is not just that. It is as simple as a plank, right? It's as complicated as a handstand push-up or handstand clap push-ups. It can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. So I want to get like I said previously, the younger generation, the older folks, all of them into calisthenics, because it's very easy for them to quickly pick that up. And also with regards to women, I think in India there's still a lot of women who don't step into the gym because they're shy, or because their husbands don't let them, or because their fathers or mothers don't let them out, or they get conscious wearing workout clothes. They would rather prefer to work out at home in the comfort of their home, right? For them, I think buying equipment, like doing a chest press, if you want to progress, you can only progress in a chest press with as many variations, right? And then you have to go for higher weight. But with a push-up, there's incline push-up, and you can keep decreasing the incline to make it decline until you reach a handstand. You can start from wall and you can go to a handstand push-ups. So I think for women especially, it is going to be really, really adaptable, and I want to be able to bring calisthenics to these folks more.
So like, what would your best advice would be for the ladies out there who are really giving a thought of getting into calisthenics but are little scared, nervous, and do not have a proper guidance?
I think this is the message that I want to put out to not just women, I think for everyone out there, that this is a line that I remember from Harry Potter, right? Where Dumbledore tells Harry Potter, help is always given at Hogwarts for those who ask for it, right? And I want to say that again and change it a bit and say, help is always given to those who ask in the Cali community, right? So I want women and people in general, anybody, to reach out to coaches. If one coach doesn't respond, somebody else will respond. Like somebody will respond, right? We love helping out people. Like as humans, we love helping out people. Nobody will say no. So I think women and upcoming athletes and people, you need to ask for help. You need to reach out and say, hey, what can I do? Where can I learn? How can I be this? How can I be certified? How can I be a coach? And when you receive help and support, it's very easy to overcome, because as a woman, I have already been there where I couldn't do a single clap push-up, I couldn't do a single pull-up, or there was a time when I struggled to lift a certain weight, etc. So the struggle, we all start as beginners, and I think people need to ask for help more. That is very important.
Yes. So Anupama, what is your suggestion for the ladies who are also giving a thought of becoming a full-time calisthenics coach?
I don't know about a suggestion, but ladies, if you're listening to this, we don't have enough women coaches. Please become a coach. Please get knowledgeable. Start training more women. We need to support each other. We need to uplift each other. We need to be friends with each other, and help everybody. We need to help each other, because I think as women, it's a common tendency to trust another woman easily, right? So that is what happens. And just ask. I mean, there were like 2-3 ladies who reached out to me after the certification, asked me how can I become a coach, and I was like, thank you for asking. We need to help each other out. We need to, and not just to for women empowerment or anything. Like for women, everything, even the period cramps, mood swings, all of that is so high, right? When compared to men, we can help each other not have that. So why not help more women out, right? So we definitely need more lady coaches. We need more female coaches helping each other out. And just if you ever need any help with the certification or anything like that, reach out to me. I'm always available. I might reply a day late or 2 days late, worst case, but I will always reply. Okay, so yeah, reach out to me. And yep,
that's really, really sweet of you, and helping the community grow even bigger.
Yes, I hope so. I hope I can do for other people what my coaches did for me, without expecting absolutely anything in return. All of them have been so nice. So I want to be able to do that for other people as well.
Also, would you like to say anything for the ladies out there who are a little insecure if they should start calisthenics or not?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how to answer this question. I think if I hear from the ladies about why they're feeling insecure, I mean, see, it's up to us coaches also to make calisthenics more accessible. See, I understand that, you know, doing a doing a handstand or doing fancy things like, a back lever is will get more views and more reach, but that also makes people feel like they can't do it ever, right? So we need to, as coaches, we need to start having more conversations about around with people that calisthenics is not fancy and inaccessible. Calisthenics is any movement with body weight. And then I think when you show the women that they can start from scratch, uh, they'll definitely sign up. So we as women athletes, I think it is the responsibility of women athletes to push other women to get into calisthenics more. And same goes for all the genders, out there. Movement is for everybody.
Yes, yes. Also, like, what is your experience being a female calisthenics athlete and a coach? Ladies, please listen to this out. It is really important, and I'm sure that this will definitely help you out.
Um, my experience with the Cali community has been mostly extremely positive. Again, like I said, help was always given. Sometimes I never asked. They just saw me struggling and people poured into help. They were like, Anupama, come, we'll teach you this. Anupama, come, we'll teach you that. Okay, we'll learn. Okay, or this one. So it has almost always been there. And like when I reached out to help, I was never refused. Nobody ever said, I'm busy, I can't help. Right? They came and helped me out in whatever small way they can. Right? So it is almost entirely positive. And it's not going to be so tough getting into calisthenics as a coach or as an athlete. I think a couple of things I'd like to see changed is that I think there are no women judges in the competitions, even for women's events, endurance events, or this one. I'd like to see more of there are so many of us who are like Cali athletes for like 2-3 years at least now, right? Who've been doing calisthenics for a while, ever since we got to know about calisthenics. I'd like to see more women there. I'd like to see more women as coaches and as judges and as women of power who are driving movement as a coping mechanism to whatever people are going through life, right? I want to see women take charge and do that for everybody. It hasn't happened as much yet, especially with calisthenics. I think most of us have been kind of on our own journey of unblocking moves, etc., etc. We have to start training more, talking more, networking more, reaching out more. So that is very essential.
So, are you looking to collaborate with other coaches?
Yes, 100%. And this is a message that I'm going to put out to other coaches and into the universe, that I would love to collaborate with other coaches because I'm from Bangalore. I started pretty late when compared to say Hema or Fit Mom, and all of these guys. I started relatively later, and and the pandemic came, so I never got a chance to actually interact much with the coaches. I think from North India, I have a good connection with I know Cali athletes from Pondicherry. And I've hung out with them when I went to Pondicherry. And I know Cali athletes from, South. They've reached out to me and said, hey, if you're ever here, meet us. If you're ever here, come and stuff. But I haven't had much interaction with the Cali athletes of North Western India. And I would love to, kind of come learn, interact, collaborate on projects, see what we can do together, kind of help each other out. And collaborate as much as we can. So please, if any of you guys are listening, I would love to work with you. Let's work together. Let's make this wave bigger.
Yes. Definitely, the vibe in North and the West East is amazing.
It's beautiful.
This is once, and it's really amazing,
Yeah.
Because I got to experience the South side, the North side, the West side, everything. Attending the competitions, meeting up. It's a great experience for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so name some of the books, podcasts that have helped you.
Well, so I'm a firm believer that the shortest way to success is through reading. Okay, and I have personally experienced it. Like reading, I have been reading from the time I was a child, and I lost touch with the this one. But when I started reading again, it was learning so much through other people's lifetimes, right? See, these authors have lived an entire lifetime and learned, and they've put it in a book that is, say, five hours, you know, short, right? So listening to audiobooks, listening to books, podcasts is the like shortest, the easiest way to uh, become more successful. So I think a couple of what do you say, books that I have in mind is, first, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's about how to help your clients form habits, how to help you form habits, etc. It's a brilliant book that everyone must read, especially coaches. And the second one is called Mindset by Carol Dweck. It talks about how athletes who have not been very successful in the beginning have kept at it with a good mindset, with a positive mindset, and have kind of become super successful with whatever field they've done. Not just athletes, businessmen, from other different fields, investment bankers, etc., etc. And the third book that kind of changed my life is called How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LaPera. Okay, it's called How to Do the Work, and the Instagram handle of this author is The Holistic Psychologist. Okay, this talks about our childhood patterns and our traumas, and basically you may beat yourself up that you're not able to work out consistently, but it may not be you. It may just be some childhood pattern that you learned from your parents, and you have the choice of changing that. Maybe you're not lazy, maybe you're not somebody who procrastinates a lot, right? It is just a childhood pattern, and this book teaches you how to break that pattern and how to deal with whatever happened in your childhood so that you can be a better adult, and you don't teach your children and your people who are surrounding you the same things. So
I'm definitely going to give this a read. Thank you.
Yes, because you should 100% check out these three books. They really changed my life, and I'm sure it'll. Coach Arshad Aman, I'm not sure if you know him. He swears by these books as well. Atomic Habits, he loved it after I recommended it to him. So yeah, definitely.
Wow, amazing. Okay, so the last but not the least, one last thing you would like to say to all the listeners.
Well, again, this is a question that really got me thinking. I think I just like to reinforce the fact that you don't have to be working 20 hours a day to get successful. Take that break, especially now during COVID, after COVID, post COVID. Our mental health is so bad. Put mental health before physical health. If you had to choose between doing a workout miserably and just taking a break, take a break, because doing a workout miserably will lead you to an injury, if not today then tomorrow. Okay, so I think people have to put their mental health first and really work on, like how you have a physical coach, have a mental coach. Speak to a therapist, understand yourself, understand your patterns, and work towards what is lacking or missing, and understand your strengths, and use them to make yourself better in whatever field you choose to work towards. And that is a message I want to leave everybody with, that mental health before physical health, always.
Yes. Thank you so much, Anupama, for this lovely episode. I had a great learnings to take home.
Thank you, Kaustubh. It was such a wonderful opportunity, and so nice to speak to you. I think it's been long since we caught up also, and it felt like we just caught up instead of having this podcast. So hopefully we get to meet each other very soon for a coffee or something like that. But yeah.
Sure, definitely. Thank you so much, Anupama. See you until the next time.
Yeah, take care, Kaustubh. Thank you for this. See you. Bye.
Well, thank you so much everyone for staying up until here. Hope you have got to know a lot about Anupama. If you have any suggestions, queries, or need any assistance, please feel free to reach out to me at kaustubh@02calisthenics.com or ask@02calisthenics.com. Also, you can reach out to Anupama on Instagram at anupama.shivacharya and us at 0_2_calisthenics. Until then, see you in the next episode. Peace.